The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. This is Brad Spates with Guide Technologies. Thank you very much for signing up and attending our Scan and Track webinar. Today I have the pleasure of having Randy Kenny and Jeff Schneider do a presentation on Scan and Track and some of the new and exciting capabilities that we have with real-time customer fulfillment and labor reporting and so forth. Just a couple of housekeeping points. Everybody that is registered for this webinar will get a link in a day or two with the recording, for the recording. Everybody is on mute during the webinar, so if you have any questions, please use either the question function in the GoToWebinar or the chat function in the GoToWebinar. With that, I will turn it over to Randy Kenny.
All right, very good. Thanks, Brad. Good afternoon. I guess good morning if you're on the West Coast. But yeah, I've just got a few slides here talking about Scan and Track overall as a product and some of the different add-on modules that we have. But we're going to focus the demo part of it on our cycle counting, paperless cycle counting, physical inventory capabilities. And that's what Jeff will be walking us through. You know, as Brad mentioned, this being a webinar, it's really not interactive, but if there's something that piques your interest in anything that we discuss, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be glad to schedule a more personalized, more interactive demo for sure with you guys. So, but in the meantime, given this format, put any questions you have in the chat box and we'll save time at the end for some Q&A. Okay, so just from an overview standpoint, Scan and Track supports all of the common transactions in XA, both inventory and labor. So really, instead of going to a PowerLink screen or a green screen for that matter, you can do all of them through a mobile device, web-based mobile device. So it really brings mobility. One of our customers says Scan and Track gives feet to XA because it really allows you to move about through your warehouse and receiving and shipping areas and do the transactions in real time. We do also have full support for those famous pick, pack, ship green screens. And again, through a web-based portal, if you will. And we made a design decision early on to make sure that we emulated the functionality that you have in green screen, because most people that are doing this realize that, you know, while they have picking and shipping capabilities in PowerLink, there's some limitations. So we wanted to make sure that we emulated the robust functionality that's in green screen. So we can do all of that through Scan and Track, and you don't ever have to see a green screen, which is a big selling point to a lot of people. This is the area we're going to focus the demo on today, physical inventory cycle counting in a paperless manner. And hopefully you'll see how it really interacts or interfaces with the materials management module within XA. But you can do it all through, again, a mobile device. One of the things that I think really makes Scan and Track unique is that we are 100% system link under the covers. And what that means is that you get real-time transaction verification, real-time transaction posting if it passes the different edits. And it uses, obviously, all of the same business logic and edits that you have in XA. So just as if you were sitting there in front of a PowerLink screen or a green screen for that matter, any of the edits or errors that would come back will also come back to Scan and Track. We enforce all of the same business rules that XA would enforce. So you're not going to get bad data into the system. And another key architecture part of that is we've got quite a few 24/7, 365 shops. So we have to make sure that System Link is available because that's what the transaction engine is behind the scenes. So there are architecture options to make sure that that is always available in those type of operations, and other techniques that if that's your situation, we can certainly go through that with you. But using System Link behind the scenes really takes advantage of all the modern technology that Infor and XA offers, and including if you were to add custom objects and custom edits and logic using Integrator, we're going to enforce all of that those same business rules through Scan and Track at all times. It's a browser-based interface, as I said, so a lot of our customers are looking to get rid of green screen, and within XA, even though it's been promised for many years to get rid of green screen, there is still that, and so with a Scan and Track and PowerLink or NetLink combination, we truly can get rid of any green screen, and that's a big seller to a lot of customers. Licensing is concurrent, and that's important because we've got customers that have operations not only across the US but globally, and really when it comes to licensing, having it be concurrent and by device, not by user, so you don't need additional XA user licenses. You really only have to figure out how many would be connected to Scan and Track at one time. So you could have 100 users wherever they are, but if only 40 of them are going to be connected at any one time, then that's how the licensing would work. Okay, so everything on the first slide is basically base product stuff. What Jeff is going to demo with cycle counting is all part of what you get with the base product, along with all the other transactions and pick, pack, ship, and all of that. But we also have a couple add-on modules. This first one here is a module we call Pallet Track, and it's really used by customers that have maybe units of measure in XA at, say, an each level or a case level, but they really manage their inventory at a higher level than that, whether it be on pallets, is common use, or even customers sometimes use this for tracking containers or big boxes of shipments and so forth. So what this module allows is really robust capabilities to manage those pallets, or that higher level of inventory control, if you will, from initial buildup, whether you're coming off of production lines from manufacturing orders or purchase receivables from POs. You can build up the pallets, and then all the way through the inventory in the warehouse to picking and all the way through shipping. So it's a very robust module that if that's, again, something that would be of interest to you, we can certainly demo that separately. And we've done a webinar on Pallet Track in the past, so we have that available as well. Then another add-on module is what we call Intelligent Wizards. But really what it is basically anything around manufacturing order processing, whether it be labor or material issue, reporting scrap, back flushing when you do the RM. It's got very robust crew clocking. It really gives you a very detailed view into your working process. And it's designed in such a way that's very easy to use, very intuitive, because it's done in a wizard manner, and it really just kind of walks you through the different things that you would be doing at a manufacturing order level on your production floor. And we've got edits in there and allows a lot of different capabilities that you really can't even do if you're just doing vanilla XA. So a lot of capability there, really makes for a clean select and edit process for all of your labor transactions and whatnot. And we actually did a webinar on this particular module just a couple months ago. So that's available, but again, we can do personalized demos on any of this as well. When we look to implement Scan and Track, we're always looking for implementing best practices. So the way this is developed and architected, we really can customize and personalize the solution without customizing anything in XA per se, but it's all done on the front end in Scan and Track, and really personalize it to fit your exact business needs. Everything from label designs to data capture. You may want to capture data that's not in XA for whatever your business reasons are. The screen flows, you may want additional business logic and edits. Again, because we're controlling the front end, we can build all of that in to really personalize it to fit your exact business needs, and not just look to implement a software solution, but really look at your business processes and how we can improve those through the implementation of a product like this. So we've got support for native barcode labeling within Scan and Track. You know, many times when we go to implement this, this is an area that we focus on. You know, you may have labels in place today. We can use those, or we can look to develop new barcode labels wherever it makes sense. Or if you've already got a barcode solution like an Interform or IntelliChief or the other ones listed there, we've also interfaced with all of those. So whatever fits based on what your needs are. We've got an admin area with a lot of different configuration settings, so you can tailor how Scan and Track works, what edits you want, and a whole variety of things that you can really, again, personalize the solution. You know, we've got in here you can create badge groups, so you know, based on what the individual does, you can control what transactions they have access to. And those with similar access and security, it makes it very easy to maintain by creating these badge groups. Got full support for barcoding, turnaround numbers, whether you've got you know, barcodes that you use today, or if you don't, we can, you know, certainly integrate that and look to implement those at the same time we're implementing a Scan and Track solution. Very flexible from a printing standpoint and how we configure it to print what you need at the point of use, you know, from your receiving docks all the way through to your shipping docks and everything in between. You know, if you need something to help control the inventory or just make doing the transactions easier, barcoding is absolutely an area that you can drive efficiencies and accuracy. Okay, and lastly for me, I just wanted to point out that this being a web-based solution, it truly is a global solution. It can be from one Scan and Track install, which is on just a Windows IIS server. You can manage multiple XA environments across multiple iSeries across multiple locations. And then with the concurrent licensing, it would be counted across all of those locations. So it's not, you know, by iSeries or anything. It's just how many devices you would have that need access to the capabilities at one particular time. So very flexible from that standpoint as well. So with that, let's get into the meat of it and show you what we can do with cycle counting. And obviously a physical inventory is just a full warehouse cycle count. So a lot of the same capabilities. And I think Jeff is going to show not only what you get in the base product, but also if you were to purchase the Pallet Track option, if you have that need, we can also carry the cycle counting over onto pallets as well. So we'll show you both of that. So Jeff, I am going to make you presenter.
Okay,
Let's get into the good stuff.
Okay.
There, you should have it.
Yep, I see it. All right. So again, my name is Jeff Snyder. Been with Guide for 15 years. I've been doing manufacturing consulting since '84. I was an IT manager from '79, working with Mapex. So a lot of years in this Mapex stuff, and spending the last 4 or 5 years, probably 25% of my time in R&D work with Guide, helping to develop the capabilities of Scan and Track from an application point of view. So I'm working with the tech support, and I'm really just, I got to tell you right off the get-go, I'm blown away by how quickly things can be developed in this coding mechanism. So let me just, I just wanted to say that right out front, that I'm impressed with our staff. Just wanted to get that out there. You know, our mantra on this from the beginning has been, you know, we should have the system reflect reality, right? We don't want to be doing transactions hours later. So let's make the system reflect reality. So when people are looking at a screen, you know, reports are dead. Everything's available now and quickly in PowerLink, not to get too far off on that tangent. So we want to report, you know, have the system reflect reality. So that means report the event when it occurs. So if you touch it, you move it, you do labor, that's what that wizard's about. And transferring material in a warehouse, all of that is built in so that we can record the event at the source. And the third tier of the mantra, of course, is make it as easy as possible. Make it as idiot-proof and as easy as possible for the associate on the floor, whether it's a tablet on a tow motor, touchscreen, handheld device, whatever it might be. So with that, I'll get into this. What Randy was referring to before was this badge group at the heading. So this is how we control the security. You can't come into Scan and Track and just do any transaction, because here's all the different transactions. So we limit that, and we do that by coming to these badge groups. If I come down here, like just as an example, so here's a pallet cycle count badge group, and here's the transactions they're allowed to do, and you can add them, take them off, and then here's the badges. Here's the people that are allowed to do that. So it's very simple to control the security. It's not as complicated as XA's cross-app security, right? We made it quite easy and simple. From an admin point of view, we talked about being able to customize things in particular. And this was, again, what kind of blows me away. You can see different people can have different configurations, of course. I'm going to come into this one. And let me slide this out of the way. And just as an example, if I type in, so here's one for cycle counting, include counted items. So, the whole business with our cycle counting is, like Randy said, we lean on material management's cycle count groups. So you may or may not be familiar with that mechanism, and you'll learn a little bit about that because we use it, as our backbone. We don't modify anything. There's no customization. All we do is using system link tools. We feed data into those count groups. So we develop the count group right in XA. All we're doing is, instead of producing paper, we're putting that count group on a handheld device and saying, okay, we're going to assign you badge number 777 to this count group, go count this area, and it pops up on their handheld. So they're just walking around a wireless handheld doing the cycle counting rather than a piece of paper on a clipboard. So it's pretty slick that way. So one of the things that we do is say, well, do you want to, you get this handheld as you're counting items? How many items do you have in your count group? Do you want to keep scrolling through items you've already counted? Or maybe if you've already counted an item, you want to disappear off your count group. So, we kind of developed this, not in a vacuum. We're developing this with some beta customers that are sharing with us their experiences and so on and so forth. So that was one of them that came up. And, like I said, before I can blink, the development staff has it built in to the code. The other one was this idea of a count group pop-up. So you got this list of items. You'll see this. And if they decide they want to count an item, they touch it with a stencil or their finger or whatever, because it's on a handheld, all touchscreen. Rather than them trying to type the quantity into a little wee square, we do this. We do this pop-up. So it's an option. Do you want that or not? I would think most people would, but just showing you some of the examples of the customization that we can do. And everybody's aware of this one probably. Let me draw. This is one other one I wanted to show you. There it is. Show inventory, count group, compare quantity, right? So if you want to do a blind count, you would have this as false. And most people would do that. I turn it on as true for the demo, just so that we can follow the breadcrumbs and say, okay, what was the count group? And it just helps explain what was happening. But in any event, there's all kinds of config options throughout. There's a lot of them for the wizard, for the cycle counting. for the TWs, you know, inter-warehouse transfers and so on and so forth. And so that's a separate admin sign on to Scan and Track. If I come into the normal one, I've already signed in as 777, so I belong to a particular group, and these are going to be my options that I have available. So let's bounce over here now. So I've got this set up. What I did is I developed a Scan and Track demo card file, right, in PowerLink. And what I can do here is pull up these menu options, these workbenches, right? And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you can come back down here just real quick, and I can come into another one. That's a refresh. So that's pretty slick. So let me come back in. So I've got these locations, these warehouse locations, right? And I'm going to count a location or several locations. This is, again, vanilla XA, MM's cycle counting module. So to give you a little introduction to this too while we're going through this, if you've never seen this or heard of it or thought of it, I can pick a location. I'm just going to do CC 93 here. So you can see I've got pallets or batch lots here. Here's my part numbers that exist in this location, my quantities. Nothing's attached to a pallet. This is our business object, right? That's a Scan and Track license plate, detailed Scan and Track. And what we did, of course, in Integrator, we linked it back to the locations. That's what we did. So if there were pallets, we'd see them here. So you can build these workbenches anyway, like your compound cards, whatever suits your need. But on cycle count 33, this location, and like Randy was saying, if you wanted to do wall to wall, you could decide how many locations do you want to have on each count group, and then assign them to either, assign them to a person, and that guy would be responsible for counting those. I'm going to come into host job, and I'm simply going to say I'm doing CC 93, and I'm doing that on 11/18/21. And my compare quantity is going to be the cutoff quantity. I'm going to activate the count group. You got to do this in materials management on these cycle counts. You have to activate the count group because you could have count group 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to generate tags, so that's all I'm going to do. There's no tags. I mean, as you go through and you count something, you need to put a red stick on it or something. You need to have something that says I counted this item. But we're really looking to record the counts. So once I do that, I can come into my count groups. I'm just going to come back here, pull up my count groups, and do a file refresh. And there it is right on top. So my count group is 161 right there. You can see I was doing a little preliminary testing just to make sure everything was working fine. And I can certainly click on that count group, and it's going to show me down here, 161, the items again, the location, the items, batch lot numbers if I have batch lot control, what's the current quantity on hand, and so on and so forth. I don't have any count quantities yet. So now I've got this count group prepared. I need to assign this to a person. So I'm going to come up here. And again, this is just an action icon that we added because we're leaning on what's already available in MM's right here assigned to. This is not our field. That came right from XA. But when I come in here with a badge, and I hit the file refresh, you're going to see, okay, now it's been, this count group has been assigned to badge 777. That's a valid employee number in your MMS file. Okay, so now I can come into Scan and Track, do normal cycle counting, and it says, all right, I'm going to show you the active count groups. So there's a drop down here. You can see different ones, and we've added these over the years. But count group active is the typical one, the ones that are active that have not been counted yet, posted. So there's my count group 161 that you just saw. I simply select that, and it pops up. It says, okay, here's your items. That's what we just saw back here in our locations. You know, same idea. There's our batch lots. So it mirrors, just all it did was pull in what we had there. Need to put that back. Oops, put that back. All right. So at this point in time, you know, I'm in this location, CC93, and I'm looking for these part numbers and these batch lot numbers. Hopefully they're identified on the product. You know, I mean, some people just assume that whoever's doing accounting knows what the item number is, but particularly if you have batch lot number. So some of it's just a matter of logistics. But I'm going to come in here, and there's that pop-up I was talking about. So I touch that, and I'm going to go ahead and just bump this by 10. Take the next one. I'll bump it by 5. I'll bump this guy by 10. And all we're doing is scan and track with the handheld. You know, I'm doing this on my laptop with the handheld. All we're doing is entering the quantity. You know, there's no scan. We're not scanning anything. We're just entering the quantity. We call it scan and track, but in this case, we're just entering the quantity. So we display the count group detail in scan and track right here. That's the count group detail. And we simply enter the quantity. And what that does is immediately, per Randy's comment before, if I come back here and do a refresh, you can see my counts have been entered. So right off the get-go, they've been entered into my count group. Now you might say, well, what if the first one's wrong? What if I miskeyed that? So I'm back here in scan and track. And again, so this first one really should have been 805. Let's just pretend that. So I can do that. 805. Change it to 805. And now I come back and do a file refresh. And my quantity's been corrected in the count group in XA. So it's a single link. We're not doing no shadow files or anything like that going on. No synchronizations, you know, nothing like that. We are doing system link directly to XA database. Very powerful advantage, in my opinion. And the fact that we can correct these counts and so on and so forth. The other thing I mentioned to you is if I'm on this guy, and maybe I don't want to see all these because the list is too long. So I could take this and say, you know, even though I had it configured to say show them, if I unclick that, all the ones that were counted come off the list. So I'm only going to see the ones that weren't counted, and I can turn it back on if I want. If I had an item here that I find in that group that I'm counting, this group CC93, I find this another part number, another batch lot, and it's not on my list. Well, what would you have to do if it was on paper, right? On a clipboard. I mean, I lived this. People would write that down, and then it would be turned in, and all these pieces of paper would come in, and then you'd have a certain number of clerks, 6 or 7 or 8 people keying this stuff in, particularly during a physical. So they're keying in all these pieces of paper, and then they're doing an add to their count group for anything the guy wrote down manually. So here, we simulate that. Just click create count item. Say, hey, you know what? We're going to validate this, a valid part number, of course. But I found Jeff 3. I found batch lot 555, 666, whatever. And of course, it was in location CC 93. Maybe some of this stuff is barcoded. Maybe you find something where there is a batch lot and all this is barcoded on the product. You could certainly scan it And then I'm going to put a quantity of 100 here. Create. And you're going to see that guy immediately gets added. Right? Just like it, again, I come back into my count group items, file refresh, it's going to be there too, right there. So he got added. No, nothing there, but I added 100. That's exactly what I did. Okay? So from a scan and track point of view, all we're doing again is pulling in the count group items. You selected the count group that was assigned to you. We assigned the count group to individuals. So when they sign in a scan and track and they pick a cycle count, it's going to come back and say, you know, what's your count group? They select that. Now we see these have been entered already, so it's not going to be there anymore. I could pick the one that says counts entered. But in any event, the rest of it now that I've entered the counts, that's the interface. So we interface directly to the count group items, and we're entering the count. The rest of it, quite frankly, is all a matter of processing. Let me pull this up here this way. Back to this menu. So I can come back here now, and I can run my normal processes that I would normally run. You know, I can come in here and do my variance reports. I'm not going to run that. But I can come in here and do my variance reports, missing, you know, count list items and so on and so forth, just like you would in normal cycle counting or physical. And then when I'm done, I simply grab that guy, right? Maintain and post your count adjustments. I do that. Says you've got one uncounted. That's right. Go. And then I could come back into here. Close that window. Got messed up somehow. And there's my updates. So everything's been updated. If I wanted to see the transaction, of course, I could right-click display, come down and actually find the transaction. Here's my PHs. So that's base cycle counting without pallets. And again, if you have particular questions or concerns, we could certainly address them in the follow-up session. Did anybody post anything here as far? I don't know if anybody posted a question. I can't see that from here.
No questions or chats at this point.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on, and let's pick another location. Let's come back over here. And this time I'm going to look at 92 because I got pallets in this guy. There we go. There we go. So you can see on this particular one, we've got some batch lot stuff going on, but these guys are attached to pallets. So if you have pallet tracking at all, we had a couple that were doing that. So here's my batch lots. And I could have a batch lot on more than one pallet. I certainly could have a part number. Here's a part number that's not batch lot controlled on 2 pallets. This guy, this part number is on 2 pallets, 2 different batch lots, and so on and so forth. Okay. So with this, what we do is we did add a tag along file to the count group to track our pallets. So we come into, we're just going to do a host job. We're going to create the count group. Come in my count groups. Let me close that. Let me close these. It's getting hosed up on my workbenches. There we go. So there it is, 162. That's the one I just did. And you can see I got my batch slots pulled in because that was vanilla XA, right? So XA doesn't know anything about my pallets, doesn't know anything about that business object that is associated with the item warehouse location. So what we did, not we, our development team, decided how we pondered about this quite often and long. How are we going to get these pallets in here if we want to do pallet cycle counting? And so we added this host job that says create pallet counts. So it's going to walk back through that location, and for these items in those batch lots, it's going to find those pallets in our business object. And it's got to populate it here, right here. So we just say execute. And file refresh. Should have to refresh it here. There you are. Just took it a second. So all my pallets come in. If I found more than one pallet, of course, just like with this guy, you know, it doubled him up now. Now he's in here twice. The item counts repeats. It says, well, I've only got 355 at the item. And that's true. You know, this item in what we call SLQNTY, you may know as the item warehouse location, has 355. There's no batch lot. But we have it on two different pallets. So it's 225 on one pallet, 130 on another. So if we want to count by pallets, you know, we've got two physical pallets sitting in the same location. So that's what we do. Then we take it and do the same thing, assign it. Got to assign this guy. Oh, here, right here, this guy right here. 777. Should be able to do a file refresh. Here we go. Okay, so we got the pallets pulled in. It's assigned. This is ready for scan and track. I can come back in. This time I'm not going to do cycle counting. I'm going to do pallet cycle counting because I want to see those pallets. The difference is just this layout of this field here. We added this column for pallets. We didn't want to confuse people that weren't doing pallets by having a column called pallets and having it be blank. So that's why we do that. And also we have add pallet now, not just create item, but we add pallets. So I come in on this guy, I can do the same thing. Again, I can do a blind count. You know, it doesn't have to be that I'm showing this just so I don't put some crazy numbers in here. But there's my best compare quantities, what I'm talking about. We can certainly take that off. That was a direct hit. If we take it off of this screen here, we take it off of here too. I say I spend about 25% of my time now in R&D, and it's just a lot of fun working with the development people, figuring some of this stuff out and testing it and showing it. And so on and so forth. I'll do one more. I could have left one blank, but yeah, same idea. I mean, I'll just show you real quick, but it's the same idea. If I come back to my cycle count group, come on. How come that won't pop up for me? There we go. Huh. All right, I'll do it this way. Here's my counts that I just put in. Same idea. Close this. Yeah, that looks better. There we go. Those are the ones I just put in. I can certainly come back here. If I click on Add Pallet, it's going to want, what's your pallet number? Because it assumes I'm scanning this pallet number. It's just somehow barcoded on the pallet. Let's see here. It's 9. It's 1. We go 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. Pallet does not, so it was checking the database to see if this pallet already exists in the database in our business object. Because if it does, you know, we recognize a pallet cannot be in 2 places at the same time, right? So if this pallet already existed in CC95 instead of CC92, that's a different event to us in Scan and Track. We realize that rather than just adding this pallet, we need to transfer the pallet from CC95 to CC92. So that's what we do. We would actually do a TW transaction and transfer that pallet. And we flag it on the count group. You'll see this. But we get a warning message. Pallet does not exist at all. It's just like, well, where did this come from? XA doesn't even know this pallet exists. So where did it come from, right? So we'll go ahead and say, please add, you know. So we're going to go ahead and allow you to add it. When we say, all right, again, and what's your item? Is there a batch lot number? What's the location? Again. And what's the count? Immediately adds it right there. If I go back to the count group, 162, that is my count group, right? Yep. There it is right there. So immediately got added. And again, at that point, I'm done in Scan and Track. All I did was count pallets. But the point being, we're still leaning on the backbone of MMs, cycle counting groups. All we did was we added an extension file, so we didn't modify anything. You know, people on your IT staff will understand it's pretty simple to add an extension file so that we could track pallets to that count group. That's all we did. And then back here, then the rest of it is still all in at that point. Everything else happens. Do your host print, do your variance reports, same idea there. And up here, maintain, post counts, adjustments. So what this does, this post count adjustments, it recognizes that we counted some pallets. So it's going to reach out and it's going to update our pallet business object along with the item warehouse location or SLQNTY. That's what this guy does. And then if I come back into the main area, try that one more time. Let me close some of these. All right, now. There we go. and we're updated. There's our pallet that we just added. It's in the pallet file now. It's also over here in SLQ2I, item location. So this has been developed over the last several years and pretty rigorously tested. I have not been able to break this. So I think it's a great product. It eliminates the paper. We pull everything in, so nobody's writing down a part number. They're keying everything in, just keying in the quantity, finding it, and so on and so forth. And with that, Randy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And of course, where you saw part numbers and batch lots and locations, if those are barcoded, obviously it becomes a scan versus a type. But yeah, if anyone would like, further information, I don't see any chats in the chat window, so but we can certainly follow up if you have any questions afterwards or want to get a more personalized demo or it can be more interactive. We'll be glad to set that up. But that's really what we wanted to show you today, and look forward to any feedback you might have. Brad, do you have anything else?
No, just thank you very much for your attendance. In a day or so, will probably be early next week, everybody on the webcast will get a link to the recording of this. And so that if you've got other people in your organization that weren't able to make this and have interest, you can certainly share that with them as well. So if there's no questions, I don't see any. Oh, here's a question. Let's see. Assumption is System Link creates the maintenance history of course. What does the user ID show? Scan and track or user ID?
The badges are associated to individuals in your MMAS file. So you can associate that with a user ID, and that's what would get carried over. It'd show both the badge and the user ID.
Okay. Any other questions or chats? We've got a small enough group. I could unmute everybody and just to make it a little more informal if you'd like. Why don't I do that? I'll unmute everybody. So if you have any, oh, there you go. Hey. Okay, well, I hit the unmute button. So if anybody has any questions, please chime in while we have the webinar going. Okay. Nothing. So again, thank you very much. Oh wait, I've got here we go. Now everybody's unmuted. I had a little pop-up that I didn't see. So if anybody has any questions, please ask away. Okay. Well, thank you very much for everybody. And again, everybody will receive a link to the webcast early next week. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the presentation.
John?
Yep.
Thanks all.
Thank you.